Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and today we're going to do us a playthrough of Palworld. Well, we're not going to do a complete one, in one video at least. So basically what's going on is I saw that the Terraria update came out, and I have a PC version of Palworld, but it runs alright. I saw the PlayStation 5 version was on sale, and I was like, whatever. Good excuse to just restart and do everything from the beginning. So, picked up the PS5 version, and here we are. And we're going to work our way up to doing the Terraria dungeon. Which, by the way, I have no idea how high up I need to be. I have no idea how strong my team needs to be. I'm really not very good at this game. I mainly bought it originally because I thought, Pokemon with guns. Turns out, it's a little bit more interesting than that. If you see me doing some weird stuff right now, it's because I'm getting used to playing with a controller, because on the PC, obviously, I play with mouse and keyboard, so I have no idea what the controller settings are. And this would be me trying to figure that out. Primarily trying to figure out how to sprint and whatnot, instead of just looking at all the stuff on the screen.
Yep.
So, now that I'm a little bit educated, we're off. So, I like doing the strategy where instead of actually making your starting base where you're supposed to make the starting base, you actually run inland a little bit and then go across the bridge from where, I can't remember its name, where the little water monster dude boss spawns in the overworld, and building it on that little flat on top of the mountain where there's a bunch of ore. So, that's what we're going to do. Just collect some stuff and mess around a little bit. I guess this would also be a good time to explain that the footage will probably jump around a little bit because I'm going to cut out some of the things where there's really nothing much going on. And I have tweaked the in-game settings to give 10 times experience so that we're not having to grind forever just to gain levels, to gain access to technology and points and whatnot. I don't mind the grind sometimes. If I were trying to do something like a challenge run or whatnot in this game, then I would definitely leave that lower. It's not terrible to grind levels out in Palworld. All you have to do is build a whole bunch of the spheres and actually do the thing where you're catching 10 of each of the pals. But I also don't think it's absolutely integral to the experience of the game. Especially when realistically what I'm wanting to do is get up to the point where we have access to the Terraria dungeon. And I tend to follow the strategy where for about the first 10 levels, more or less, you invest points in carry weight until you get to about 750. Then you invest points into vitality, like try to get, or not vitality, but stamina. Try to get about 10 points put into it, and then just pump up vitality. Once I get a pretty decent amount of health, I'll switch back to throwing some in stamina just to give it a little bit more range and as far as being able to work for longer periods without having to stop. But it's not super important to have huge amounts of stamina. Right now I'm getting ready to throw down a workbench so I can try to craft some of my basic tools before I destruct it and then move back on with it. But really basic introductory strategy for starting into the game. Of course, prioritizing the wooden club so that we actually have something to speed up combat just a little bit. And then I'll start working my way through the tools for however much wood I actually have available. Which the smart thing to do would be to start with the axe. Don't do that. If you start with the axe, then you could actually chop down some trees to build the rest of it. But I don't have enough wood now to do that, so I'm just going to have to take down a tree the old-fashioned way by beating it to death with a blunt object. I'm surprised trees in Palworld seem to have more health than trees in real life. Occasionally I'll just go out back and find one of the fast respawning trees and try to beat it down with my Louisville Slugger. It's really not all that bad, but it is definitely more efficient to do with an axe. Double checking, just to be sure that the axe actually does work better than the baseball bat. Seems to be. Yeah, there we go. Now. Alright, so let's run over to near the area where people would normally start the default base and grab a chest and I guess a journal entry. I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure exactly what the point is of picking up the little blue things. Never paid that much attention to them. I just see a collectible object, and I pick it up. That's all I know the importance of it. I'm probably linked to a Steam achievement or something. And I'm not going to beat the mammoth to death because he destroyed the first base I ever built in this game. Way back when it first went into early access, and I did actually build my thing up there. And I learned very early on why you want to build a gate that you can close on that bridge. Because he just wandered on across and destroyed a whole bunch of things. Not in this spot in particular. I think not in this one. There's a couple plateaus here. Whichever one, the one that normally people start their standard base out of. So, down there is what I'm talking about. And he would come across the little natural bridge and just rampage, destroy. And here, something's getting ready to occur to me. I haven't been properly beating things to death as I'm running around. So, I need some wool, which means I need to start killing a bunch of these lambs. Still not really being as aggressive murdering as I probably should have been. But, now we got a biosphere. Which means we can go find us something to drag around with us. Probably a kataba, however you say it. Bring him along for the ride. Huh. The music's actually kind of ominous. Never really paid much attention to it before. See, I have a habit of playing games muted and just listening to a podcast or something. Catching up on the YouTube drama. To Nicholas Doria. Yeah, there we go. Now we've got a companion. And we can just kill some stuff. Smart move would have been to pitch him out and let him help me kill some things. But, what can I say? Not like I'm really being the most efficient here. You can use speedrun strats without actually doing the speedrun part of it. So, after dawdling around for a little bit, decided to try to chase this guy down, beat him to death. And he proceeded to do one of the things that annoys me the most in this game. When they relentlessly run away from you, and you just can't quite get close enough to club them like the baby seal they're meant to be. And that is not at all what I meant to do. I meant to kill him, and then catch the cat. Because I wanted to have two of them. That way I had a little bit more carry weight. Because you capture a kataiba, and you have it on your team, they'll carry some stuff for you. Which really just translates to they help increase your carry weight. Now, I don't know why I have a copper key. But it's a decent little chest to open, I guess. Or at the very least, it could be worse. So, a little bit tired of not being able to catch stuff. So we're just going to drop a bench again and make us a bunch of Palspheres. Yet again, should have popped the kataiba out. Let it help me. Kataiba. Make a whole lot of rookie mistakes here at the beginning. There we go. Then I'm just going to stand there and stare at him instead of helping. See, I'm going to politely cut a lot of the dead space out. But I wanted you to watch that. Just to waste your time for a second. Now, there actually was a little bit of method to my madness. Because as we're getting down into this lower area, there's a couple pals that would actually be quite useful to have in the initial base. And you may have seen one of them hopping around a little bit in the background. And you may have some idea what I'm getting ready to go after. Because we need something to water the plants when we get to that point. And these guys work just fine at that. Realistically, there's some better ones closer to where I'm going. They actually have the ability to multitask, and the one that's a little bit better at watering just doesn't. So, basically, I'm just kind of crowd controlling that one for a second because I knew both of them were going to end out attacking. And we'll proceed to club this guy and wonder where Mr. Freeze is launching his ice bombs from. And let's see, percentage 45 should be good if we can land it in the right spot. And I don't actually know where he is attacking me from. Inside the wall is where he's attacking me from. Alright, time to just go jogging as fast as possible. Oh, and I'm hungry. Yay! It's always wonderful to be approaching starvation. Well, I guess starvation's not a problem now that I've got my Zep bound. By the way, I picked the particular character model that I did because he reminds me of like a male version of Storm, and I actually think she's one of the better X-Men. Now we can get our second. Hello, little fella. Now, I need you to go unconscious for just a moment. Don't run. Just don't die. And don't murder me either. Consciousness needs to be a fleeting thing for you. I need you to rest. Just not permanently. Just enough CTE to do as you're told, but not enough to go full family destroyer. And son of a bitch, got out. I got 8 more of those to waste, so... Oop. Really? Come on. And... And he got away too! Yay! Let's go all the way back to the beginning. In case you needed it, this should be confirmation for you. The old glitch where you could respawn and pick all the starting respawn locations is gone. That doesn't happen anymore. Oh joy. And would you look at that? Somehow we're magically all the way back down here. We haven't just basically tried to drive a couple of the lambs to extinction. Try to get this one. See us fail. Yep. Gonna have to beat him. I really probably should have gotten that waypoint first. But this is me just being arrogant and thinking, he's a low level pal. He shouldn't be that hard. And repeatedly having the computer prove to me that no. Despite the fact that statistically you should be capturing him, you're just not going to get it yet. There we go. Now I got my second one. Really would like that little green dude as well, but before I get beaten to death, I'm going to grab this guy. And instead of letting myself stand there and be beaten to death by the ice dude, we're just going to port away and then port back. That way we drop aggro. Virtually every time I jump in the menus, I'm just going to cut some stuff out and jump ahead. If you really want to see that stuff, let me know. And whenever I decide that I'm going to sort of get to an end point of an episode of this, I'll pull up the menuing and just run through the tree, let you see what all I've selected and whatnot over the course of the game, and pause for a moment on the inventory screen so you can see what all I actually am currently carrying on me and where the stats are at. But I find that stuff really boring to watch unless I'm actually watching a video that's meant to be a guide. And this isn't really meant to be a guide. This is just meant to showcase that I'm mediocre across the board in pretty much every genre of video game that I play. But I'm at least not so mediocre that I'm going to let my guy freeze to death. At least not if I can construct this stuff before he freezes to death, which I don't know. If I had thought about it and actually made a torch earlier, wouldn't happen. But right there by the spawn. And you can hear me clicking the button with the impotent rage of someone that knows that they're stuck waiting for the screen to load. There we are. And that's actually one of my favorite pals floating around there. So we'll catch that shortly. As soon as I'm not freezing to death anymore. Alright, so to save you some time, made the cloth armor, made the basic glider, and now we're good to continue exploring. Still haven't set up a base yet. Oh, the reason why I'm moving the torch over in place of the hand grenades, in a previous attempt at starting this up, I had those hand grenades, and I thought I had the club selected, and I just pitched 2 hand grenades out and wasted them. So we're going to move those over to the inventory and stash them away at some point. Alright. Now, let's beat this floating psychic thing half to death. Why? Because you can get a cool little piece of equipment for it that lets it float around beside you as you're walking around. Now, not to spoil anything coming up later in the video, but back in the day, those little charms were super overpowered. From what I have experienced so far, even though I like having the thing floating around with me, it just doesn't seem like it hits as hard as when you actually pull it out, or that it attacks as consistently. That could just be me. I could be completely misconceiving this, or, and this is occurring to me now, I'll have to check it out, I guess, whenever I actually look at that one. Could be that it has a passive trait that is making it to where it's just not as good of a fighter. I haven't even checked for that. You know, the fun thing about watching these videos is it makes me feel incredibly stupid. Alright, so jumping ahead a little bit, this is just to kind of give you some orientation as to where we're going. Grabbing the Rain, Syndicate Tower, waypoint, feeding myself a little bit, and then here in just a second I'll show you where we're heading to, in case you're just completely unfamiliar with the strategy that we're talking about here. Had to pause for just a moment, but where that bridge is up in the air, that is where we're headed to. Ultimately the place on the left side of the screen, because on the right is the arena against the boss that's up that direction. I probably should capture one of those deer at some point, but not right now. They're actually kind of hard to fight when you aren't at least a little bit overpowered. And I have no idea what that guy does, but he's level 50, so we're just going to give him a wide berth for now. It's probably some sort of vendor. I can probably talk to him and get something from him. Don't know. Gonna leave him alone. Don't feel like dying. And right there is the dude that would be really good for watering. Pretty much only for watering. So, let's see if I can catch up to him. Ooh, chimpanzee's even better though. Good worker. Honestly, don't even know why I paused to see what percentage he was at. I should have known just to keep beating on him. I wonder with it being damaged right now, if my hands wouldn't actually just do more damage in general. Eh, well, whatever. It's not like clubbing, it's not a fun thing to do. And let's go club us a monkey. Pretend we're in Indonesia. Don't know why I did that. That was stupid. What a waste. Yeah, well, I'll get something later. And you saw the boss on my right. So we're going to give it a wide berth. Could go back and catch that dude now. I'm just going to keep on going around here and actually try to establish a base. Because at this point, if we end up accidentally dying, it's a decent little hike back up here. So we're going to finally get over here and actually establish our starting base. And voila! All of this so that we have plenty of ore to start with. Drop our PAL box down in between these two chunks of ore. And as soon as it's done, we'll start dropping down a few pieces of the base. Alright, so just a little bit of time later, I have to come out and grab some wood for a project that I'm working on at the moment. Ignore the fact that my pals have jumped up almost 7 levels and, you know, like, see a little peek at the front gates up there. See, the problem I run into with Palworld is what I'll end up doing is instead of actually playing the game and going out and capturing pals and progressing through all the tower fights and doing all that stuff, I just work on upgrading my base. So, you know, I've not spent almost 3 straight hours working on my base. Multiple game sessions just to throw in things like a farm, and you can ignore that little building, the beginnings of the house up on top of the hill back there, and furnace, stone pit, tree, farm, rock mill, a little shed that actually has a couple of pal beds in it. And, none of that stuff's important. Didn't go out and find eggs to justify getting the incubator open. Haven't put down a hot tub or put a giant gate in front of the whole thing to make sure that it doesn't have any invasions, or work stairs all the way up the side of the mountain so that they lead to my future mansion. Haven't done any of that. Seriously, I've barely left this particular spot. Like, the only reason why I've left at all is to go get Palladium. And other than that, come back. If I'd went and fought any bosses or done anything along those lines, I would have shown you. I have genuinely spent, I don't know, 4 hours just working on upgrades for the base. And that's the biggest issue I run into with Palworld, is I will dump immense amounts of time into just upgrading bases. Right now, I am on footage segment 5 of 12. I don't know that we're going to get through all 12 on this one because I don't really want to make an episode that's an hour long. Mostly because I've noticed the videos that are much longer than what this one is right now tend to do it super well. So we're probably actually getting pretty close to the end of this one. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and try to actually find a shot where I show off what the base currently looks like. We're just taking a pause here to give you a good reason why it takes me so long to do anything. If you notice, I'm doing this at night. A smart player would go sleep in their bed at night. That way, all of their worker pals are up during the day and can come help them. Instead, I just pull my guy out, and whoever's actually with me gets to help me on the night shift. Okay, so this was actually kind of a fun issue to figure out. I have to build an expedition station in order to get the next advancement open. Problem is, up here, there's not really any good places to drop it where it can stay and not be in the way. So, I'll show you what my solution was here in just a moment. Can't get wherever it was sitting to pop back up right there, because that would have actually been an okay place to leave it. It sucks because sometimes you'll get a little glitched out spot to appear. So instead, what I'm going to end up having to do is come over here to my little sort of landing area down below where my house is, which that's the house that I'm actually working on. Ultimately, it'll end up being 3-tiered, but for now, it's just the one. And I do eventually end up solving that open stairwell problem, but that you'll get to see significantly later. I'm not going to put it right there. what we're going to do is I just end up deciding to set it in a temporary spot. But the reason why I'm showing this whole thing is because the temporary spot, just the process of finding it actually does end up giving you a good look around the way I've got the base set up so far. But that's all I've been working on. Dropping down stuff for the base. May not be the best arrangement for it, but I don't know. I like this little starting area. I think you got plenty of room to put things down that you actually want to start with. And eventually that little shelter right there will go. Like, all that stuff will get moved up into the house once I actually get the stuff to open up the house a bit. Trying desperately to find a place that I can put it that won't require deconstructing it, but it's a losing battle. And about here is where I start realizing that it's just not going to work. So, spin around, try to find if there's any weird places where it'll let me drop it and just get away with it. And now I'm heading back to where I know I'm going to have to put it down. I guess I could have tore the walls down, moved the front of the base forward. To be honest, I just didn't feel like doing that. So we're going to test it right here and see how in the way it's going to be. Like, it doesn't actually look bad right there. It's not bad for me. But when we hop down to this lower area, you'll start to see what the problem is. I do actually know how to do multiple constructions at once. I just screwed up on that first one. Just kind of taking advantage of it being here to try to put that in. I still don't understand how it decides sometimes. Oh, no, can't go there. But part of that reason is that thing. Now, I'm sure that's a useful little thing to have. At this point, I haven't cleared a single tower. So there's not a single mission in it that's open for use. So when I catch a glimpse of it from that angle is where I actually realize there's going to be a problem. And that problem is, ultimately, I want all the pal beds to go to my room upstairs, to go to the house upstairs. That structure is preventing my pals from being able to go up because you need a clear stairwell for them to go up with, right? Okay, so I'm like, okay, let's see if we can expand the deck up there a little bit and come up with a secondary way to get up and down. That spot that I drop it, not a good idea. Should have stuck with the original place, having it actually attached. But there's even issues with that. See, if I drop it down there on the floor, there's a gap. Pals aren't going to hop across to cover that gap. There's nothing I'm going to be able to attach to it that will let me get it close enough that they would actually walk up with it as is. And even if I attach something to it, what you end up finding is everything ends up being just a bit too crowded in down there and out having to actually cover other resources. Number one, it won't let me actually directly attach to this from up here because of the little structure over there. It's too close. I could put one there, but then actually actively trying to get it low enough. This next portion, I can't get it down there. I can't connect it over. I can't do anything to get around where I'm dropping things. So it's going to have to, which is no problem. I'll just rebuild it again later on if I actually end up needing it, which I'm sure I will. But now that we actually have the stairwell clear, we can start turning the house into a house. And the first thing I'm going to do is fix a mistake here. So, put the door on that side for whatever reason. Just move it over here, and then turn that side into a regular wall. Well, wall with a window. Now it's time to do a little bit of interior decorating. Dropping a couple pal beds down. See, right now I don't actually have enough for every pal that's out. But this is the point where I start actually constructing beds to slowly shift them up here. I do have a realization later on that this being a wooden structure and me actually having a fire pit out, not the best idea in the world. But slight spoilers, before anything bad happens, I actually go through and convert everything to stone. But we'll see that process much later. For now, I think I'm going to cut to a little bit of a concluding shot, and we're going to drop out of here for the time being, and we'll pick up with a part 2. So, to give you some idea of what this whole series is about, we're just going to play around with Palworld a little bit, with the ultimate goal being to get to Terraria. Now, for now, it's mostly base construction. Next episode, we'll actually end up having a lot of boss fights in it, because I actually start going out and exploring the island. So, if you're interested, drop a like and a subscribe, and leave a comment. Otherwise, remember, if I can beat it, so can you. Have a good night.